Hey, what's up, everyone? It's Dr. Glenn Vo. I am shooting this podcast at our favorite coffee shop, George Provisions. It's in Coppell, Texas. I'm having a turmeric ginger latte, one of the best drinks. My guest today, CEO, founder, head man at Adit, Ali Jhaver, and you're having, what'd you just have there?
I'm having a double shot espresso.
This guy doesn't mess around, right? He gets straight to the point there. And how was it?
It was really good. They chased it with club soda. I never seen that. That was pretty cool.
Interesting, right? So they like to do things fancy here. So anyways, I'm super excited to have you here. But before we go any further, because some of the people who are watching, they're probably thinking, okay, what is Adit? What does Adit do? Briefly, tell us, what does Adit do? And then we'll get into the genesis behind the company and your journey as an entrepreneur.
Well, first of all, thank you so much, Dr. Vo, for having me here. I really, really appreciate it. Glad to be here and do this podcast. So Adit basically is a dental software that helps dentists streamline and bring together their phone system, their patient communication, their operations, their practice metrics and analytics all into one software. And so we basically help practices run their business and grow their practice. And that's Adit.
Well, I mean, I like to tell people that Adit does a little bit of everything, but all that little bit of everything adds up to massive support, not only to the practice, but the team members. I mean, that's the thing that I hear all the time. Team members are like, I love Adit. It makes my job so much easier. Absolutely. And so let's just go back in time a little bit, right? Let's go back in time. Obviously, your Adit's been huge in so many dental practices, but I mean, dentistry is a unique field with unique people. I can say that because I'm a dentist.
Absolutely.
I can say that we're unique and sometimes a little bit strange. I can say that because I'm a dentist. But talk about your journey. How did you get into dentistry? How did you create this company and grew it to just the company it is today?
Absolutely. Yeah. So dentistry is very unique. You know, typically for most businesses, you think B2B.
Yeah.
Because you're selling the business. But because dentists own their business, it's more like B2C, right? Because the dentist is fronting the money to buy your product and services. So it's almost like it's B2C typically, right?
Yeah.
And so it's very unique. And so, so Adit started in about 2013. Mm-hmm. I had put together a development team because I wanted to build this product. And long story short, that product failed. And I didn't know what to do because I had recruited these developers and I needed to figure out how to pay their, salary because I kind of, painted this vision for them that we're going to build XYZ and I couldn't just let them down. And so one of my friends introduced me to a couple of his friends. At the time, I had just taken a course at Google. Back then, Google used to take you to their campus to teach you how to run ads.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was crazy in Austin. And so I learned Google Ads. So at that time, I started building websites and offering digital marketing solutions. And my first 5 customers were 2 daycares, an optometrist, and a dentist and a realtor, like a real estate agent. And so that's where Adit started. It took me a couple years to kind of figure out how to do online marketing and all that kind of stuff. And Adit back in the day started with, the way I started this whole program was I would listen. At the time, there was this really popular software called CallRail. Mm-hmm. And it would record all the calls, right? And so I would go in and listen to these calls. And I would write down the names of the patients that booked an appointment. And then I'd give it to the dentist or the optometrist. And I said, hey, here are the patients that the marketing program got you. And they loved it. Like it blew up at the beginning. Or those specific customers liked it. And I kind of grew to like 8 to 10 customers. And then I realized that, doctors are typically pitched website visitors, clicks, and all these things that didn't really mean anything to them, right?
Yeah.
And I've always been in the business of transparency. So I was like, if I can sell what I believe in, right? You can sell from the heart when you really believe in something. And so my concept was, let me do this. Let me, put aside the smoke show and give them the patients that actually book an appointment.
Yeah, of course.
And I was building this program and, I was running it. So I was very confident. So I was like, if I don't hit a certain number of patients, I won't charge you that month, And that was the beginning to the patient booking guarantee. Wow. And that's how we kind of grew from, 5 customers up to about 700. And marketing customers through the course of the following 7 or 8 years. And then we switched over to what Adit is today, which is
so I want to talk about that because, again, it's one thing to build a successful business. And then there's another thing to make a pivot and then actually focus on almost, I mean, it is kind of related, but it's a different product and grow that to success.
Absolutely.
So again, for those who are watching, who are listening right now, I mean, Adit is a platform that literally helps you stay in communication with your patients, but also get an ROI out of it, right? It's a platform there. So again, talk about that switch to that platform, why you did that switch.
Absolutely.
And again, how do you feel about the decision today, obviously?
Absolutely. So, when I was doing marketing, when you start a business, just like when you start a practice, your number one focus is my patient. If I can take care of my patient, I'm going to grow, right? And the biggest struggle that you have sometimes when you deal with patients is that they're not always open to your advice, or they sometimes are not ready to follow the things that you're telling them or prescribing to them, right? In marketing, it's so much similar. The biggest difference, though, is that there's this big wild card in the picture that first, the practice doesn't know how to run their business sometimes, but also that you're very dependent on Google and Facebook, right? Yeah. So at the beginning, we started marketing. And I'm sure if you run more than one practice, you know this to be true, that anytime you start, when you do something yourself, it's going to be exactly the way you want it. But as you start involving other people, it's not going to be 100% exactly like you want it. It's like the 60 or 80% rule, where if you delegate something, it's going to be done at 60 to 80% of the same level that you had initially done it. And so I had this guarantee. I had a patient booking guarantee where I was guaranteeing results. So you can imagine, as we started scaling that program, this is my first business. I'm just learning how to, do all this. Don't have any money, fully self-funded, bootstrapped, 25 grand from college that I saved up was going into this company. That was about it. And so it was tough. So when I was offering these marketing services for customers and we were scaling, I was realizing that there was these variables were making it difficult for us to always drive results. We were running into issues where patients were no-showing. We were running into issues where practices just would not get reviews no matter how much I asked them to do X, Y, Z. They were missing phone calls. They didn't even know they were missing phone calls, right? They were, when they got a patient in a chair, they weren't able to generate revenue. So they would get upset about running a promotion, but the practice across the street was running a better promotion and generating more revenue from the same patients. They weren't getting a hygiene reappointment rate. So like they would get an emergency patient, but then they wouldn't try to get them in for a reappointment or even a regular new patient exam. And so the revenue generated, so many errors along the way. And then on top of that, you're dealing with the biggest wild card, which is Google and Facebook. Like we can't just go tell Google to list you first. We can do all these kinds of things and it'll work majority of the time, but there's an error rate. And so the biggest problem I ran into, Dr. Vo, was churn. How do you scale a business? Because churn goes out of control. And that's kind of when I started to realize, okay, I need to help these practices succeed, not just by getting them patients, but by streamlining everything else they're doing. That's when we introduce online scheduling. That's when we introduce appointment reminders. That's when we introduce, being able to send a text message when you miss a phone call, reporting that shows missed calls, metrics that show how much you generate from new patients, at what rate are you retaining these patients, and all these metrics, email campaigns, are all these things to get these patients in the door, get them to show up, get them to produce. We built Positive, which was a software to help them get reviews, right? And so, we built all this to tackle those problems, and we just followed our customers, right? We just listened to our customers. And
it's funny how things work out, because Adit, the platform that is today, grew out of a necessity.
Right.
There was an issue, right? And it's an issue that if you have worked with any marketing company, it's an issue that you have with marketing companies and marketing companies have with you, right? It's the finger pointing thing. Like, no, it's your fault. You're sending me the wrong leads. And then the company's pointing back to you, says, no, your team's dropping the ball. Again, I love the fact that this platform makes the lives of the team members easier. And to be honest, ultimately it makes the lives of everyone's lives easier there. So again, one thing that you've come up, and I think that is very important for anyone who's listening right now, is that you face a lot of obstacles, right?
Absolutely.
And in a dental practice, we all face obstacles, right? Maybe we have a team member that leaves that we really needed. Right. Maybe something like the pandemic happens, right? Maybe we miscalculated our revenue and maybe we don't have enough cash flow that month. There's so many different things that come up. And you have gone through a lot of obstacles there. So for those who are listening, who are practice owners, and maybe they're facing a certain obstacle, talk about, number one, your first obstacle where you created a business, you hired all these people, and it failed, and you had to quickly turn around, right? Talk about that, and then talk about the challenge of, well, you have a good marketing company, and as it grew, you were running into issues that are out of your control. So talk about those two things, and how that could help someone who's running a practice right now. They're running into little obstacles here and there.
100%. So when someone joins Adit as like a staff member, the first thing we try to instill in them in the first 90 days is that we want you to fail. Failing is part of success. When people get afraid to fail, they stop thinking, they stop making moves, they act scared. And anytime you act scared, you're gonna fail. Like, that's guaranteed. And failing is not a bad thing. Failure is part of success, right? And I think so long as you're not making the same mistake more than once, so long as you're constantly trying new things, you are going to succeed. It might be immediate, it might be in a short term, it might be in a long term, but you will succeed so long as you keep trying. And so when we have people join Adit, they're going to fail. They're going to make mistakes, and we need them to make a mistake and go, wow, I learned so much. Let me try it this way. Rather than, oh no, my job's on the line, I'm going to lose my job, you know? And when and you have to understand, as a business owner, people are going to be stressed out. They're never going to have the same level of commitment to your business as you are, right? Because it's your practice, it's your business. So when things go wrong because of the decisions you make, your employees face the heat. Your employees face the adversities as well. And they're not as committed to the cause as you are. And the moment they feel that level of cause, they're going to leave you. And the number one problem, in my opinion, is that when you make mistakes and you learn, that's your talent pool. Those are people in your office learning, making improvements, changing. That's invaluable. Like, you can pay people, you can make money, but you can never get back time, right? Yeah. And so the time that you spend learning these valuable lessons, you don't want to lose your people, right? And I know so many doctors that when things get tough, they get upset at their staff. Yeah. They release the pressure on their staff. They say things to their staff that, frankly, you wouldn't say to anybody. You know what I mean? And they start doing these things because they're facing that adversity. And you just want to keep in mind that no matter how tough it gets, because it's going to get tough, you always want to retain your talent, you know, especially if it's good talent, right? And that's kind of like, and you do that by encouraging failures. You do that by encouraging mistakes, taking leaps, and taking that next step. You know,
I love that, and I'm going to ask you a follow-up question here, because I like to say that whenever we see someone successful, right? No one is just born in their success. No one is just a made person where they know everything. They make these mistakes, or they look at other people, or they have mentors, and they look at other people's mistake, and they level up from that. Obviously, what you just said there was so important, right? Just making things safe, right, for your team. But did you go through something like that? What was the how did you come to that realization? Was that through a mentor? Was it through something you said? Share that story with us.
Absolutely. So whenever I talk to my leadership team at Adit, the first thing I'll tell them about is these two stories. So I still remember my entire staff in the United States. I had about 8 or 10 people. This is back in like 2016, 2017. Okay. Resigned on me twice.
Wait. Say that one more time. How many?
Out of 8 people, I think only one person stayed back, both times. And so I lost my entire staff, like my entire support, onboarding.
Like just all at once.
All resigned within a given month.
Oh my gosh.
It's crazy. One time I was actually on a vacation with my family in Switzerland, and I had 5 resignations while I was on that trip.
I assume that trip wasn't a fun trip.
It was a terrible trip. I still remember it, 100%. And the lesson I learned from that was, I mean, frankly speaking, I was applying all this pressure on my team because I was stressed out, right? And I was trying to figure out how to do this. And that's my problem. That's not their problem, because I was creating a bad operational environment. We were selling so fast. Everybody was signing up for our program. And we had a great marketing program, but we were just growing faster than I could support it. Yeah. And I'm bootstrapped, so I can't just staff in advance. Mm-hmm. So, and all of the money we would receive from these customers would not happen at the beginning. It would be accrued over a year. So I made bad decisions, right? Financially bad decisions, right? And so as a result, those are my problems. I had understaffed people, and I was then applying pressure on them when they weren't responding to customers or following up. I didn't have the operational processes in place. And so it was chaos, bunch of emails. It was just chaos for them. And so just like in any practice, when you try to run before you can walk, your staff gets stressed, frustrated, and then if you go off on them, they're gonna quit on you, right? And so that was a lesson that was hard learned. I haven't had that kind of resignation happen since then. Thankfully in the year 2022, our attrition rate is at 14% across our staff, which is really, really good. And so especially because this was a very high competitive year, meaning like a lot of good jobs are out there and still people were sticking with our organization. So we've come a long way, right? And that's when I learned that, when your peoples are leveling up, like you said, and you want to encourage that, you want to be a part of that, and you want to amplify that.
Yeah.
You definitely don't want to start it and then start all over again when you get new staff, right? And so, and the reason I'm focusing so much on people is because the only way you're going to be successful in a people-related business is if you have your people.
Yeah.
And if you level them up, they give you you can teach skill, but you can't teach heart. You can't teach mindset. Yeah. You can't teach work ethic, right? And when you have the right people, you have to level them up by supporting them.
Well, that's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you so much for just being vulnerable out there, because a lot of times that's something that most founders or leaders of companies, they don't want to reveal that. They want to say, I got it all together. It's these guys who don't know what they're going. So thank you so much for sharing that, because whoever is watching right now, whether you're a dental practice owner, team member, you're in dental school, you're thinking about opening your own business, this is gold right here, because again, you need your people there. And if it's your problem, right? If you're the cause of the problem and you're just unloading it on your team members,
right?
That's the fastest way to get like a quick resignation, right? While you're on vacation. So I absolutely love that. Now let's go back to Adit here, because again, you work with a lot of dental practice owners, and I'm just curious. Do some of your clients, do they ever ask you about dealing with their staff, like something like again
all the time?
Again, like what you just shared there, that would have been money for me if I was working with you there. But like, do they ever ask you those questions and whatnot?
Absolutely. I mean, you can't. You're in dentistry, right? So you're talking dentists all the time, and they're dentists are business owners.
Yeah.
But they have no business background, typically. They don't go through any financial studying. But more importantly, not that you learn much in school anyways with respect to business. They don't have any business experience, right? And so, but you're expected to run their business, typically without a mentor, right? Yeah. And so it's not easy. So whenever I'm speaking to dentists, typically speaking, especially because we're doing marketing, we would talk about their business, right? We would talk about the things that they're doing. And honestly, I would love to talk to the successful dentists and learn from them, and then share that knowledge with the unsuccessful dentists, or not the unsuccessful, but the ones that were just starting up,
right? or just trying to figure out their way,
right? And honestly, also the unsuccessful, the ones that were struggling, And so I think that absolutely, we're always here to help. Like it feels good to. I was just telling you, last week I connected two dentists. One of them bought the other person's practice, and they were super excited, super happy. I felt great about it. I was like, man, that was awesome, And so I'm always here for help. It's great.
So I'm going to ask you, I want you, obviously, as the founder of a company, as the CEO of the company, you're always looking at the future, right? You have one eye in the present, one eye in the future, because that's your job. You're the visionary. You got to figure out like where the company is headed. Talk to me about what are some of the things that you can disclose that are coming up through the pipeline with Adit, and what makes you really excited about the future of dentistry?
Absolutely. So dentistry is in this interesting space where it's always 10 years behind what normal technologies happen, right? Like technology hits dentistry a little bit late, and a lot of it happens because, I'm not trying to call anybody out, but a lot of the softwares that we're using, they're usually locked by bigger, players in the market.
There's a little, we all understand there's a little bit of politics involved, right? People want to have a little scarcity mindset there, and it's not wide open, but we understand that.
100%. And so with what's really cool is that in the last 2 to 3 years, a lot of softwares have broken these shackles, right? And because they've broken these shackles, they've kind of made dentistry to be an open environment, just like normal software is in other verticals, right? And it's a good thing and a bad thing. It's a good thing because it means that now your innovators are coming in.
Yeah.
It's also a bad thing because that means your bigger players, like your private equities, are also coming in and consolidating the market as well. So it has its pros and its cons, right? Big money's coming in, which means that it could become like optometry, where 70-80% of practices are owned by corporate America, right? Yeah. Or it could stay the way it is. So that's the con. But the pro is you have all these innovators coming in, and that's going to accelerate the innovation that's going to come out in the coming years in dentistry, simply because now you have real developers coming in, not developers that are just, like innovators, like entrepreneurs, not developers that are working for big companies, just making a salary and not thinking outside the box. Right. And that's super. If I'm a dentist, that's exciting for the next 10 years.
Yeah, so. Absolutely. And so speaking of like innovation and moving forward, what are some of the things that you have planned?
Absolutely.
That Adit has planned?
Absolutely. So, we built this amazing software that helps dentists recall patients, right? And I was talking earlier about not losing your talent. Well, still 60 to 80% of dentists lose the people that are in charge of recall at least once in a year. Yeah. That's insane. That means the person that's in charge of your churn, closing the back door so patients don't leave, is on average leaving your practice 60 to 80% of the time in the first. That's a huge problem.
I'll be very transparent and honest. That's also a tough position.
Yeah,
that's the position where when we're talking about the owner of the company or the practice getting upset, they're the ones that, hey, why isn't my schedule filled? What's all this? Why are these people canceling, right? A lot of things that either are out of their control, or if you don't have the right systems, right? If you don't have the right systems to book patients, and then you're getting mad at your team member who they only know what they know, right?
Exactly.
So it's ironic that you and scared that you say that the team member that falls off is that team member, and that's such a crucial position.
And the second and third people you typically lose is that treatment coordinator who's in charge of all your sales, and then that person that collects all your money, billing. You lose. These three people are so critical in office, but they're so undervalued typically, they're valued typically by a successful dentist very, very well, but losing turnover there, you lose some level of productivity.
Oh, yeah.
So what we're trying to do here at Adit is we're trying to automate that to where if in the event such things happen, because they're going to happen 60 to 80% at a time, Adit can kind of cover the hit that your practice takes during that time. And that goes with automations, and possibly introducing more AI into those kinds of things. Nice. Up until recently, conversational AI did not exist. And that was a big deal because when you wanted to do patient recare, no software could do it automatically because they couldn't communicate with a patient. But that technology has just been unlocked in the last 90 days. And so huge breakthrough. AI is just breaking walls. And like I said earlier, because you have legitimate developers in the space now, you're going to see things hit dentistry, not 15 years delayed, but maybe 3 years delayed, 2 or 3 years delayed, right? And so we're one of, obviously, those people that are working to bring such technologies to dentistry. And so that's some of the stuff that we're working on.
That's exciting stuff. And, so for those who are watching and now you're curious, right? Now you're curious about what Adit can do for your practice. And you're probably curious, like, man, this guy is a wealth of information. How do I get a hold of him? Let's go through a couple of things here. For those who are interested in Adit, wants to learn more, wants to see what Adit can do to help not only level up their practice, level up your team, right? A team is a big theme right here, right? The importance of team, and you want to give your team all the resources, and having Adit in the practice one of this. So for those who want to learn more Adit, what's the best way to do that?
Absolutely. So go to adit.com/Nifty, Nifty. And over there, you'll get a form to fill out, and we'll be in touch with you. We'll get in touch with you, and we'll kind of walk you through our software, our programs. We'll talk to you about the struggles you're having in your practice and how we can help you overcome those struggles.
And there's a pretty sweet incentive just to talk, right? I mean, I love to have, I love gifts, I love incentives. I'm not gonna tell you what it is. You're gonna have to go to the landing page. We'll put that in the comments, but there's a sweet incentive there. And then obviously for people who are entrepreneurs who love that story you shared, and they want to pick your brain. And I want to let you know too, he's got an amazing team. These guys are the best of what they do. Not only Ali, but also his team members. I mean, I talk to a bunch of them all the time. But for those who they want to reach out to you, they want to pick your brain.
Absolutely.
They like your philosophy. They want to learn from you. What's the best way to connect with you?
So you can email me at ali@adit.com. That's ali@adit.com. And you can text me at 281-675-2545. Now you can call me at that number too, but I get a lot of spam calls, so I might not pick up. So leave me a voicemail.
Or shoot a text.
Or shoot a text, and I'll definitely get back to you. But
and if you like the social media platforms, LinkedIn's always good.
Yes.
I have his number, but I still talk to him on LinkedIn. I'm like,
Absolutely.
I should just call him.
Yes.
So you can all reach out LinkedIn as well. Again, such a wealth of information. And thank you so much for making yourself available, because not everyone does that. And we appreciate that. So Ali, thank you for jumping on.
Thank you, Dr. Vo, for having me here, saying so many nice things. They're not all true, but thank you so much. And so thank you again for.
Thanks, guys. And we'll see you guys next time.